Welcome back to part 2 of this very special episode where we're going to be answering all of your burning questions. If you missed part 1, be sure to go back and check it out. And in this episode, we'll be covering fun questions like coloring Chris's hair pink, where we see ourselves in a year's time, how to stick with consistency, and our thoughts on super vivid, otherworldly sexual dreams. Stick around because the party's just getting started. Hey, we're Brit and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. All right, Lorraine also wants to know, oh, this is good. Have you ever colored Chris's hair pink? # just for fun. So technically it was red that faded to pink, but when I met Chris, I was 3 months into beauty school. So he ended up being my guinea pig for all things. I immediately was like, hey, I want you to grow your hair out. And he's kind of like, what? I knew I needed some practice hair. So he started growing his hair out and I started doing all the different styles. And at that time, 2006, it was total emo mode for me. And I was really into the black hair and the swoopy bangs and the chunky color in the front. And we dyed his hair black, put a big red chunk in the front. And I also learned don't shave off just one sideburn.
It looks bad.
It doesn't look good. And
for me, it was different because here I am. I'm coming out of private school. I'm doing well in real estate, and then I meet you, and so I'm polo and khakis and that kind of stuff. And I meet you, and you want me to do all this wild things with my hair, and you get me all these kind of clothes, and just being different from. And what I noticed during that is that I'm not addicted to who I am or who I think I am or what my personality is like or anything like that. I think so many of us tell stories about ourselves, and so we only see ourselves as one-dimensional. Well, I'm only the jock, or I'm only the nerd, or I'm only the gamer, or I'm only the scholar or the entrepreneur, and none of us are just that. We're just not. And so being fluid and being able to kind of move yourself around and take on different characteristics, what I always think is, well, I'll try it. Why not? Britt was super into this style. She wanted to buy me clothes, which I still love. Thank you for buying me clothes and picking them out and everything. But you have to, give your partner, especially if you have a creative one, the space and freedom to be able to manipulate the world around them. I realized that her dressing me I was able to get a glimpse into her world of what does she like? And without her being able to show me, how am I ever going to figure it out? It'd be almost impossible. And so it was cool that's how it happened back then. I didn't mind the long hair. I didn't mind growing it out.
Your business partner was like, WTF with the lip piercings.
He was like, dude, how are we going to buy and sell houses? What are you?
He was so concerned when you got your sleeve. You can't show that, right?
I remember. So I had, because when your tattoo's healing, well, at least for me, I like to leave it as unexposed as possible. So I would wear tank tops up to work. And we had an office and he'd be like, I just remember the look. It was that look like your kid came in and just shaved their head off after they've had long hair, or it's that look of just deer in the headlights, what just happened? Our business is gonna change, and it didn't. It was better. It's what's weird about tattoos is that a lot of times when you sort of do you, and when you come out as your authentic self, or when you do something like that, there's going to be resistance because you've changed in some people's eyes. But when you meet new people, all that spurred into new conversations. I have so many conversations with people being like, oh my gosh, I want to get a tattoo. I have this memorial piece for my brother, and just, on and on. And it's amazing the amount of conversations that we've had about other people's experience because we have tattoos. It's incredible.
You know, it's so funny. It's making me think of that comment that we recently got on one of our Elevated Life posts with your picture. Guys shouldn't have long hair. You know, that was like the first thing that I asked you to do. Like, hey, will you start growing your hair out? And it's so interesting because it's turned into this tradition of you growing your hair out, donating it to Wigs for Kids. And, you know, you get like comments like about how we look or, you know, and I just really appreciate you being open, especially because you came from a private school where you were in a uniform. You had no really personality within, you know, the majority of within the majority of your life growing up. And so it's really cool that we've been able to explore and find all those different sides of our personality. So
you always have to be you for you. You know, so often we get different people, society, what magazines show us, TV is like how you should be, how you should act, what you should think.
You're gonna get criticized and judged no matter what you do.
I donate my hair so that kids who with cancer can have hair again. I mean, like I don't know how it could be more selfless. And so
in addition to your amazing crazy questions, we also get hit with some really wild just nonsense. So
and that's fine.
And that's totally okay. I share that because I want you guys to know, no matter how authentic, like if you're like, I'm afraid to be my authentic self because people will judge me. Honey, they're already judging you. They just might not be telling you.
It's always happening.
It's so true. You know, this is funny because this next question kind of plays off the back of your old business partner who was interested in smoking weed, but you wanted nothing to do with it. So when we met, we were absolutely anti-drug. We're never doing anything like that. Our parents did drugs and we're not going to be like them. And Anja wants to know, what is your relationship with weed? Have you ever felt like it held you back from finding your most potential?
Oh man, this is a fully loaded question because
depends on if you're driven or naturally not.
Yeah, I think there's a stigma about weed that it makes you lazy. And I mean, maybe for some people that's true, but if you take a person who's passionate about what they do, it's almost like there's no way I can stop Britt doing anything. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, the only thing I could do is pause her to get her some snacks. I mean, that's good. So I can fuel her for the next mission. That's the only thing that's going to happen.
Don't tell him my kryptonite.
Whenever you have someone that is just totally motivated, it's going to be extremely hard. I remember we went in the first salon for Britt to go to, or one of the first salons, and they turned her down. I mean, they told her, you can't work here because your hair color is blue. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? It is wild how the world can work like that. But coming back, for me, whenever you're looking at drugs, in particular ones that alter your consciousness like weed does or like psychedelics do, you have to decide, what are you doing it for? And that's always going to be the thing behind any of it. You know, why do you own this? Why do you work here? And the more you get into your why is going to be whether it is a support for you or whether it is something that you use as a crutch. If you use weed as a way to escape your life, long term,
bad, not good.
It won't work out. I mean, if you do it nonstop and you have to show up at places and you can't show up, you can't be there for your kiddo, you can't be there for your friends, and it's waning on you like that, now we've got a problem. But what we've learned is that for us, it has invited us to interesting places. We have met some of the most interesting people because of weed. And it was something like I was 100% opposed to. I mean,
you didn't smoke until you were like 25.
28.
28.
I smoked at age 28 for the very first time. And I still have never had a cigarette in my life. And it was only because it was offered to me by someone that I dearly love. And
after the mushrooms,
told us
trip, to smoke the weed.
Yeah, it was such a wild trip. And so for us, it's more of a how can we have really open conversations? We use weed as a conversation tool. I mean, it's one of those things.
Why do you think it's called the elevated life, y'all?
We use it as a way to connect with the different side of us, because like any kind of drug like that, it sits on a receptor. So you're seeing the world in a new way. You're seeing in a way that's different from your regular state of being. And for me, what I notice is that it makes me much more connected. Now, talking about your potential, it depends on what that potential is. If it's in athletic performance, smoking weed is going to be tough, you know?
Clearly demonstrated by recent events.
Yeah, with the Olympics and everything. So, I mean, you can do it. It's just, it's not a performance-enhancing drug. And so it all, again...
I know, give her 2 medals. I agree.
It just, everything like this depends on what you use it for. Just like, drinks aren't necessarily that bad, depending on how you use them. It's everything is like that. Everything can be a sword or not. And It all depends on how you are around people with it, how you feel about yourself as you do it, because if you're doing something and all you feel is negative feelings about yourself, it's going to end up causing problems later on.
The real question is, do you feel like weed is holding you back from your full potential?
Because then if you think that, it is. It 100% is.
It's your belief that is reality.
Yeah, so it's... Oh man, we're getting deep here. And the deeper part is that it's always your thoughts that are holding you back. It's nothing else. It's never anything. It's not the people. It's nothing. It's your thoughts about the things. Those are the things that always hold you back.
Ooh.
All right, so Amanda asks, is it possible to bring the goddess retreat or couples retreat to Canada?
No. I'm just kidding. Oh man, of course. We're just waiting for all the borders, the things, the vaccines, the tests, all of that. We're just kind of waiting for all that to smooth itself out. But absolutely, we plan on doing our retreats internationally. We would love to hit up all the places from Bali to Costa Rica to Iceland, where my family is from, all the way up to Canada. I mean, let's do it.
I would love it. I mean, just getting one of the great parts about the retreat is oftentimes you have people that aren't from there. We've had people that have never even been on a plane before come to our retreats, and they get there and they're experiencing something. I mean, besides the curriculum, besides the awesome people that are there, they're getting to experience a place or something they've never done before, especially because, I mean, it's a luxury experience. We're in, 8 and 10,000 square foot houses, and it's private chefs, or at least, catered. And you're not eating like sandwiches out of a bag. And it's not just like, here's a couple of graham crackers and some peanut butter and some apple slices. Like you're getting taken care of in a way that I think is 100% necessary for transformation. Because if you spend all of your time like worried about the little details of life, it's hard to transform because you're unable to give all that energy to that. So when people come to their retreats and we can pamper them in every way we can think of, like, that is such a different experience, and man, I can't wait to be everywhere about it.
I know, and the real truth is we're always looking for the most beautiful, luxurious, nature places, and Canada is filled with them. So oh yeah, I'm so excited.
I'm already salivating.
I know, really, honestly, 2022 is going to be our year of doing more retreats. We've been able to launch them during the pandemic, which is kind of the most random but most needed time for that lack of connection that we were feeling. And this year has been us building up the couples retreat that we're going to be hosting later this fall. And I think next year is going to be a lot more retreats and a lot more places. And I'm very, very excited. Okay, so Leanne wants to know, where do you see yourself in a year's time? Also, a trip to the UK is in the cards, right? Let's work that sparkle magic. Okay, so we're going to Canada, we're going to the UK. Where else are we going, y'all? Let us know where you'd like to see us have a retreat. Shoot us a DM and let us know what area you're looking at, and we'll definitely add it to our list.
Yeah, so we're at a time in our life where a lot of things are changing. Brit had her dad pass away, so that changes the living situation for her mom and that side of the family. My mom is moving away from the city that she's been in for most of her life, and so away from us, and so that's a new part of our life. And so we're probably going to end up following suit in the sense that it's time for a move for us. In a year's time, more than anything about how we're doing on the inside or things like that, I am really interested in finding some place to call our forever home. It's nature-based, just nice open space, very bright, so that we can, continues to bring you guys, all the content and just things that really fill your soul up and inspire you to do those things that, really catch your fancy, ways of enjoying this life in new ways. And I feel like so much of your environment, we moved from our last place was extremely dark inside, and maybe that was a symbolic of where we were in that time.
We were definitely in the chrysalis of change, for sure.
It was dark. I think all of our clothing for the most part was dark. Everything was just dark. You walked in, it was just you walked in and you felt like, did someone style this to be Halloween
is this
themed?
Hot Topic?
Yeah, what is this? And then now our place is, big windows, tons of light inside.
Joanna Gaines ain't got nothing on me.
Yeah, and so it brings a whole new vibe. And what I've noticed for me that I didn't know before is that it brings out new ways of thinking. So I create new things and I have new kinds of conversations. And I didn't realize the environment played such a part in that. Maybe that's an ego thing where you think, oh, it's just because of me. And it's not. It's how you're nurtured, what things you're constantly feeding yourself in terms of ideas and input, and then what's going on in your environment. So for us, it's going to be the big change will be something where we are in a new place.
Our home. Yeah, that's what we've been working on.
Plant roots.
Yeah, we've been working towards this massive dream for the last decade, and building this online business and creating the Elevated Life Club and Shine School and our coaching programs. All of this was so that I could unplug from the salon, so that I wasn't, dependent on a location for our business or our income, because we really knew that like our integrity and our alignment is with nature. We want to be in nature outside of a city, and that's been our number one from the beginning. And instead of just like jumping ship and like building a tiny house in the woods, we were led on this journey of like creating this online content to share so that we could still be of service and give our gifts to the world and make a difference, but also be able to move. And so I think in 1 year's time, it's so crazy to say, but I think my salon will be closed. It's like so hard to say that. It's so weird. I'm excited for it and I'm happy for it. And of course, I've wanted this. I've been telling my clients for 6 years, I'm quitting.
No, I can only imagine being one of them.
I know. I've been stringing them along for so long, but now it really is the time. And I think, I wanted it to be the time 6 years ago, but now I realize that it took time to transition and to build this online. Everyone's like, oh, you'll be 6 figures overnight. Ha ha. Yeah. I mean, I was in my salon, but I put all my energy into it. And in this case, building the online business, I took a really slow pace because I was living my life. I was going through my own spiritual awakening. I was running my 6-figure hair salon, and it was a lot. And I'm a Libra about balance. And so for me, it took time and it took patience. I think it was a lesson I needed to cultivate to be able to move to that next chapter in my life.
I think too, it's really important to realize that your journey doesn't have to look like someone else's journey. Some people get to certain destination points much faster, and some people take the long road on other ways. So how you
We're
do
taking
it,
the scenic route, babe.
that's fine with me. I'm good for cruise control and just chilling. I mean, I feel like that's the pace at life that I want to go at this point. I've done the run really fast, sprint as much as you can, and it was costly. I think it was costly just not only for my physical health, but just mentally every day. And you do that does wear down on you.
Oh. It just like makes my heart just like makes me so happy to think like in 1 year's time, like how far we've come in the last 15 years of doing this journey together. Like it's so interesting how many people find our podcast or check out our blog or our YouTube video or see a picture of us, and they automatically just throw their story on top of what they say. Why do you have a guy with long hair? Like, it's so interesting. Like if you go back 15 years ago, where we were, the dreams that we had then, what we thought was possible, we even cared about back then.
We were those people saying those comments.
We were those people, and we were really mean. We were so mean. It's because we didn't love ourselves. And man. That journey just is so wild to think. So in 1 year's time, I can't even imagine where we'll be in regards to like letting life and the magic unfold, because I wouldn't have imagined that I'd be here today, from even just 1 year ago, like how much has unfolded. And
it's funny because what you're saying really brings up the next question, because Beth asks, honestly, what can I do to click into consistency? Which is really what all this is about. Being somewhere in a year is about consistency. She says, I've read so much, it doesn't feel like a knowledge issue. It's a me issue. I love you, Beth.
# real talk. It's always a you issue. Issue. Hello, issue. Can you see what I did there?
You're a mess.
I know. Okay, Beth, consistency. You just have to be motivated by what it is you want to stay consistent with. For example, I was so motivated to get that Oracle deck out. It was something that was a burning desire within me. So despite wanting to give up and crying about it and wanting to quit, I stayed consistent by putting it in my calendar and making a commitment to myself. This is the goal that I have in mind. This is what I'm going to put my heart, soul, and energy into. And you have to get really clear in the beginning of any journey or goal that you want to, embark on. Are you willing to to put in the work, because it's going to take work. That's what consistency is. It's work.
That's
that's what you're doing when you're being consistent, is you're working towards something. So the thing that you're working toward has to be something that really lights you up. Again, that's what I teach in Shine School. Like, what is that thing that drives you? What's that passion? Like Chris said, you can't put my passion out. I am a burning ball of crazy fire, and I am on a mission to awaken and light that within everyone else, because they all have it. They're just pretending that they don't know what it is.
Yeah, and the secret here that Britt's mentioning, you can tell if you listen deep, and that is, she sees herself doing those things. When she pictured making a deck, or when she pictured, she didn't only just picture hard work. She pictured that she was a deck creator.
Oh my God, I'm a deck creator.
See how that's different?
Ah!
That's a different thing. What most people tend to do is they picture how difficult it's going to be. And difficult images are uninspiring. What you just have to picture instead is that you're the person who does that. It doesn't matter if it's difficult or not. Hell, everything is difficult. You know, unless you got a little cheat sheet with you. I mean, that's always nice to have, but you still have to put in the work. It doesn't mean you get to skip. You have to invest that sweat equity, and it always takes time.
I think the other thing to stay consistent is to celebrate yourself every single day. That's another thing I teach in Shine School and manifesting your dreams, is to celebrate the small wins. Because if you wait to the end to celebrate, you're going to give up. You're going to feel like, oh, this is never going to work. So every day, like, for your consistency, celebrate yourself, because, hey, we just need to know how we work. And like Chris says, I work on snacks, and that celebration for you could be that fuel that keeps you going. So it's celebrating the small wins every single day, whether that's I learned something new, I wrote something down, any progression towards your goal. I think you should celebrate every single day.
Yeah.
All right, Danielle wants to know thoughts on super vivid, otherworldly sexual dreams. I am shook. I want to know about the dream, most importantly.
This is what we get for teaching dreams in our membership.
I know. We literally last month covered lucid dreaming techniques, and every single person was like, I can't stop having these crazy dreams. And it's so interesting how many people reached out to us and said, hey, you were in my dream last night, or hey, you were talking to me last night. There was one day where I had 3 people all at once message me and say, hey, you were in my dream last night. I'm like, what have I been doing? Like, I need to come back. Like, let me go to my own dreams.
Yeah, and here's what's wild is that oftentimes whenever people lucid dream, and that just means that you're aware that you're awake inside the dream, rather than normally where we're just, hey, we're dreaming but don't realize it while we're dreaming. You actually know that you are. And so in lucid dreams, people realize that they can control the environment. And so what most people do is they have sex, and they have a lot of it with as many beings or things as they possibly can. That's just the way it always ends up happening.
Listen, I didn't reply to all the questions like in the group, but this one I remember replying and being like, hey, astral sex is a real thing.
Yeah, you can. The interesting part about your brain is that when you're asleep, it's still very much alive. I mean, your body is basically paralyzed and you're not moving around, so you don't act out your dreams. But there is a extremely vivid dream world that happens. I mean, you got to think about it. If you're really spending the 8 hours or so a night, which means you're normally having about 5 REM cycles, so you're having 5 dreams, holy smokes.
But the thing that I learned in teaching the elevated life, hey, the teachers learn too sometimes, but we do the research to make sure that we are well-rounded. But the thing that I learned was that you only remember the dreams you wake up from. So you may have 5 REM cycle dreams, but if you don't wake up from them, you can
forget it.
Yeah, they don't go anywhere. So that to me was very fascinating. And I have lately, you challenged us to not empty our bladder before bed so that you would wake up. I have been doing that, and it's been interesting, the crazy amount of dreams and like the memory recall I have on it.
Yeah, if I sleep through the entire night, I will only remember one dream, maybe. But if I do wake up in the night, I'm remembering those too. Like they come to me, and it's just like, oh my gosh, and so often they feel so real. But so many people
enjoy it.
So many people have sex in their dreams. That's perfectly normal, especially if it's a lucid dream. Because the second that our brain gets a little bit of escape, and it realizes that we know that we're in the dream, it's like, hey, you want to feel pleasure? Your life's been a little tough lately. Let's really kick this bad boy in gear, and let's feel it for the day. And so it gives you a little treat. I mean, that's your little bonus at the end of the day. Like, hey, you've been doing good. Get up there and let's enjoy ourselves.
I know. Celebrate the small wins.
Oh my gosh. So Colin asks, do you believe everything is meant to be or happens for a reason? That life is just as it's meant to be? Man, That's a deep question. She also asks, do you believe in chance encounters? And how do you know when that feeling is a warning or actually a good thing?
Man, I feel like this theme has come up a lot in these questions. Like, it depends on the context, like that feeling, depending on if you feel like it's a good sign, then yeah, like trust your gut. If you walk into a room and your feelings like bad, danger, like how about we trust that and GTF, like, or GTFO, whatever the heck, you know what I'm saying, get out of there. But talking about everything happens for a reason. If you would have asked me this, X amount of years ago, probably not. But from where I stand today with my perspective, I would say absolutely yes. Everything has a deeper meaning. Everything happens for a reason. And I believe that reason to be is growth towards love, finding who you are and eliminating all the fear and the negative energy that blocks that current stream of enjoyment. I mean, it's really about perspective and being able to accept all things in life.
And when you get on a different level too, when you get on more of on a spiritual basis, and you're thinking about like laws of karma, or you're thinking about possibly past lives, now we're integrating multiple lifetimes and possibly multiple things that you've accrued during that. Who do you owe and who owes you?
So those chance encounters could be, pulling different souls back into your circle to pay off that debt or receive what you are owed.
It often makes me wonder when we meet new people and we get that weird vibe and suddenly you're like feeling that pit in your stomach and it knots up. For me, my hands go really cold. My body just feels a different way. I wonder, am I recognizing them or am I feeling something that's just happening in this room right now? Like, is this a first time in their presence, or have we met and has this like been planned before and I'm going to get out of this place? I always feel I have that brief pause where like those thoughts go through my head right before I make a decision as, am I going to continue this or am I bailing?
Yeah, and I think that takes discernment. It takes practice. It takes a relationship and a connection with your own intuition to know the difference if things are a warning or if things are like that feeling is actually like, oh man, this is meant to be here.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is that when you get it wrong, you need to pay attention to that just as much as when you get it right. Mm-hmm. So if you go, oh no, this is fantastic for me, and it ends up being a total flop, you need to sit down, not be mad at yourself, not be frustrated. You need to analyze it and say, how did I feel before I came into this? What is the thing that I can know is the trigger for me? When does it happen? So that when I feel that in the future, I'm going to be like, oh, wait. I've played this game before. I've been here. I know this feeling. It did not lead to where I want to go. This does not mean that you shy away from growth, and it does not mean that you shy away from opportunities. When you get people who are particularly shy or not confident about something, they often go, well, I had the knot in my stomach, so I didn't do it. And it's because they didn't do anything. They're just never going to do anything. And so a lot of times you have to challenge yourself past that point, past where like the anxiety comes in or past where the fear comes in. You have to know the difference between real fear and imagined fear. Who cares about imagined fear? It's not irrelevant. You can feel it in your body, but it's not irrelevant to your success. Real fear definitely does matter.
Danger is real.
You don't want to walk into a fire. There's going to be bad things. And a lot of times you can know when it's that kind of a fear if you'll tune in and after experiences analyze it, but also analyze it when it's something that's good that happened. Say, what did I feel before this good thing happened to me? Did I have anything that gave me a hint? Did I get the clue beforehand? Was I able to answer the riddle? And ask yourself so that you can kind of piece it together and say, how is my mind and how is my body? How are they giving me signals so that I can interpret through my senses and through my feeling what is going on in the world around me? And in that way, you can live what looks to other people like a super psychic life. You can look like you just kind of can, I know what's in my future. It's because you started to read the signs. And the only way that you ever read the signs ever is to get out of your own head. You can't do this while you're thinking. You have to do this when you're feeling and then analyze the feelings. It's not just the thoughts.
I think the most important thing that you shared is that recognizing where that feeling shows up in your body. I know in the past we've taught, whether it's in the membership club or on the podcast, we've taught the technique of the truth or lie. How does the truth resonate in your body? Where does it show up? Is it in your belly? Is it in your heart, your mind? And then how does a lie feel? Like that negative energy, like, no, this isn't good. And when you can start to identify where those feelings show up in your body, it'll be so much easier for you to interpret whether it's, quote, good or bad, which that's a whole nother topic. Do I think things are good or bad? It all depends on the context. All right. I think we are down to our last question, and it comes from Darlene. And she says, do you recommend saying out loud or mentally daily affirmations about yourself? And if you do, how many times a day is good?
So the important thing about affirmations is that they work, but only in specific contexts. Because your brain has a mechanism that lets it know that you're lying to it, that you're bullshitting, that you're saying something that you know is not true. And so if you use affirmations basically,
I'm a billionaire.
I feel so good about my life. This job's really exciting. My relationship's really going places. Man, I'm so confident.
I love myself.
Like if you're the issue that that a lot of us have is that we're monotone inside our own head. Like it's not enough to inspire us to do anything. And so what you have to change is how that voice interacts. If you can do affirmations from that point, they work. And they work really well. Because it's aligning what you see in your subconscious mind or what self-image or whatever you've fixed in there into what you're consciously saying, doing, or thinking. And when you combine the two, it's extremely powerful. But if you miss off even just a little bit, none of it works. So as far as how many times you want to say it, until it becomes your base mode of thinking. So it's not a number of times. What it is instead is a way that you feel.
A default mode.
It's until you believe the thought.
So when it comes to affirmations, it's not just about speaking it or how many times. Like if I do it 100 times, then I'll get it. It's really about, like Chris said, the thought, the feeling, and the belief all aligning together to where it becomes this integral part of like, this is who I am. And a lot of the times when we're saying affirmations, most what I find is people say them incorrectly anyway, because they say like, one day I will da 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 da, or it's always like out in the future and not claiming it as if it's already happening in their life right now.
Yeah, you got to go back and listen to some of our previous Elevated Life podcasts. Go listen to the hypnosis one. This is all about how your mind works. And if you're doing it this wrong way, again, it's going to be frustrating. I mean, you're going to be like, how's this stuff working for? I read The Secret. Where's my Ferrari? It's going to be like, I don't understand. It seems like this is working for people. And the reality is that it is working for some people, but they're definitely doing it in a very specific way, and it's for a specific purpose. And being able to match up everything. Being able to tell yourself how you feel and then have that other part of you. It's weird because there's like two of us, there's like our subconscious brain, which has got all this, like all the past stuff.
And all the feelings.
And you have this kind of like willpower brain. That's our conscious mind. We're going to do this. And the problem is that only the subconscious moves us. It's the only thing. A lot of people want willpower. A lot of them want motivation. And both of those burn out. They use too much energy resources. Motivation takes energy. If you have to get motivated first, think about it, you have to go through a whole struggle. If the subconscious mind sees you as already doing it, like I pointed out about Brit earlier, is that whenever she is focused on a specific goal, she sees herself as having done it. Like it's hers. She's the kind of person that does that. And so because of that, it means her subconscious mind believes it. And so when she sits down, even if it frustrates her, even if it brings her to tears, even if she's, going crazy, she stays with it because that's who she sees herself being. So that's what she sees herself doing. And it just happens that way. And so using affirmations in that light can be extremely powerful. It's you giving directives to your mind. Sometimes you need to do it in front of a mirror. Sometimes you may need to do it till you're blue in the face. It's not necessarily about a number. It is about matching how you feel on the inside. Because if you don't do that, you can do it all night. You can do it 10,000 times and it will be of no importance. You may as well have just done it once.
The last time I used affirmation was while I was flying down the mountain when we learned how to ski back in March. And I'm saying, I am strong. I am safe. I am confident. I am strong. I am safe. I am confident. It was funny because I'm like, go back to the default. What do I do? Like, here's where I gotta fucking command my body to understand how I want to feel in this moment and not allow fear to be the feeling default mode.
One of the other things I really like doing, if you're an affirmation person and you've used that in the past, if you combine it with hypnosis, it's extremely powerful. But aside from that, one thing you might consider doing is doing some mantra meditations, which is kind of similar because you're repeating the same thing over and over again. Instead of it being a long phrase, it's normally just a word. So like if you can do a relaxing meditation where you just literally take some breaths and on every exhale, you just tell yourself to relax. And doing something like that a lot of times will pull you out of your mind. Remember, it's those thoughts that are happening in your mind that are creating a lot of the problems that you're experiencing because your thoughts either inspire you or they don't. And so you either take action or you don't. And so if you're sitting there and you can get out of your mind for a moment, maybe out of the worry, maybe out of the fear that there's too many obstacles or that you don't deserve it, then you can get back into a place where you know that you do deserve it. You know that you can do it. And coming from that place, a lot of times just stems from relaxing a little bit. It's getting away from being tense and busy and just too much in your head, and allow it to come out a little bit from the heart. Doesn't mean don't logically think about it. It just means lead with that heart space first, so that you feel strong, so that you feel heard, so you feel like I am totally capable. I know that I can do it.
Ooh, that just like pumped me up and just got me all in the feels. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this conversation, special edition Q&A. We love answering all of your questions. It's, it's so hard to just like DM, like send just one DM to like, I want everyone to hear like, man, these are great questions. I don't want to like just leave that wisdom in the left just in the DMs. So this is what really inspired us. Like we get all these really cool questions, and we usually do a topic on each one of those questions, but there were some that were just like, let's pop them all together and make it happen. So if you loved this type of podcast, if you want to hear, if you have specific questions and want to hear those answers, please shoot us a message. Let us know what you want to hear and if you like this style of podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life Podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.